President-elect Bola Tinubu yesterday faulted Rivers State Governor Wike over his request for federal government's refund of money spent on the construction of federal roads in the state, saying he owes the governor nothing, stating the demand you made for refund, I owe you nothing. It's your road, you're the one living on the road. I commend your effort and you will lobby me to collect. Here's some, as you make people create excitement and development across the state, we have something to look forward for Nigeria. You and I will discuss that not expected debt. Tinubu was in the state to inaugurate two projects executed by the state government, however described Wike as a dependable ally. The president-elect further insisted that he won the presidential election fair and square. Arise correspondent Andy Omano has the rest of the story.
The president-elect was full of praises for his host, Governor Wike, for insisting on a president of South-South extraction during the last presidential election, describing him as a principled man. The former governor of Lagos State insists he won the presidential election fair and square, despite the avalanche of litigations against the results declared by INEC. He says his invitation to commission the 12th flyover, constructed by Governor Wike's administration in 4 years, is another way of building bridges across political divides in the country to ensure national unity.
Today is another way of building bridges. We cannot be overstated, the need for Nigeria. It is on the strength of your character that I stand to fulfill the promise I made during the campaign to you.
Tinubu did not, however, accede to Wike's call that funds expended on all the 12 flyovers be refunded the state to encourage other states to do same for the development and convenience of their residents.
And the demand you made for refund, I owe you nothing. It's your road. You are the one living on this road. I commend your effort. You have to lobby me to collect.
Governor Wike had commended the president-elect for accepting his invite.
Your Excellency, the President-elect, let me, on behalf of the government and people of Rivers State, most sincerely thank you, appreciate you for honoring our invitation. I'm sure the people here, you can attest to the fact that they are happy seeing the Jagaban of Nigeria.
The Rivers State Commissioner for Works, George Alabo Kelly, speaks on some features of the flyover, the longest among all 12 constructed by the Governor Wike's administration.
We have piers arranged an array of 3 times 21. Your Excellency, we have 168 pre-stressed, precast reinforced concrete beams launched to form the bridge. And on each of these, we have 2 elastomeric bearings, meaning that we have a total of 336 elastomeric bearings. With this flyover now, I believe that traffic congestion will be 98% eliminated in Rivers State.
Meanwhile, members of the Rivers State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, the president-elect's political platform, were conspicuously absent at the event. Expectedly, there were lots of side attractions, including cultural displays. Wike had declared Wednesday a public holiday in honor of President-elect Bola Tinubu to afford people of the state accord him a rousing welcome. There is a state banquet this evening in honor of the visiting president-elect in Government House, Port Harcourt. From Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, Andy Omano, Arise News.
Right, a lot to chat about. Ari, your take on that story?
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to the River State Governor, Governor Wike, on the inauguration of the 12th flyover, as we saw in that report. The good, the bad, and the ugly of this particular story, I'd like to channel my thoughts in that way. Obviously, the good is that Governor Wike has been, in very recent times, very busy constructing and inaugurating flyovers, inviting very, great personalities to launch or to inaugurate these flyovers. Good news for the people of Rivers State in terms of infrastructural development. The not so good part of it is that, or it's still about the good actually, you could see the visible, for those who had watched the video, the visible excitement of the governor as to the fact that the president-elect honored his invitation as promised during campaigns and that he was there physically. You could almost see Governor Wike dancing on his seat, and his response to any comments that the president-elect made was very excitable. And he would laugh, and even his band members were in very high spirits. At some point, the president-elect had to tell them to calm down so that he could get his thoughts in the right direction. So that's on the side of this particular report. But let's go to some observations that we already talked about in that report. The fact that there are two camps that I think would have some interesting takes as to this particular visit. One, the PDP. Is this an indication that Governor Nyesom Wike is finally considering perhaps decamping to the APC, the political party of the president-elect? Because the president-elect endorsed him, commended him, talked about the fact that he was a great ally. So is he a cross-party ally, or is this going to be made formal? Are they going to formalize this? Then the other aspect of this is the APC members who are in Rivers State. Recall during the elections, there were a lot of issues around the APC, the gubernatorial elections, the APC members, very critical of the way that the governor handled the elections. And so you can understand if they were not at this particular inauguration, even though their principal was there. And there wasn't a lot of attention paid to that. So is, the APC in Rivers State obviously perhaps not happy about that. Grateful that we're going to be having a conversation in the course of today's show with the gubernatorial candidate of the APC in the state, Mr. Tonyeko. Now to the matter of I owe you nothing. Aside everything, that's probably going to be almost as famous as the president at the time, Muhammadu Buhari, saying that I belong to everyone and I belong to no one. So Governor Nyesom Wike, in his speech, had mentioned that this road here they were constructing, the Rumola flyover, was a federal road, and they used state funds to build it. And in the tradition of governors who use state funds to build federal roads, they would go back to the center to ask for a refund. In the past, this had been done amidst a number of controversies. I recall that in 2016, 36 states of the Federation had given a hefty bill to the federal government at the time to refund monies for federal projects or federal roads they had constructed. The federal government had to constitute a committee to investigate across the 36 states to see if indeed these constructions were done. At the end of this investigation, only 31 states were approved to be refunded because the other 5 states could not defend that they had gone through due process. That word, due process. And so it's no surprise that in being presidential, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu said that he owes him nothing, but he could, look into the matter later on to ascertain that, number one, this project that Governor Nyesom Wike had embarked on behalf of the federal government for his state had followed due process. It had gotten approval, and the directive following that particular incident in 2016 stating that any project undertaken by a state government must be supervised by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. Was this project supervised? Did it get authorization? Or is it just uhuru to say, okay, by the back door, I do a project and I give you a bill and you have to refund? But again, some people might analyze that statement that does it mean deeper things than just about the road in terms of I owe you nothing? But interesting things happening in Rivers State. Again, congratulations in terms of going back to the good to the people of Rivers State for whom this bridge was constructed.
The first issue would seem to be the visit, the invitation, which we tried to comment on yesterday. And I said from the point of view of law, Nyesom Wike can declare state holiday. Section 12 of the Public Holidays Act of 2009. So within the purview of the law, yes, he can declare a public holiday. But declaring a public holiday to receive the president-elect, I made the point yesterday, what is the motive? Is he trying to ingratiate himself to the president-elect? What is he looking for, really? But the president-elect clarified that by saying, oh, he had made a promise that, okay, he will come to Port Harcourt someday to come and commission projects. Nyesom Wike, having made the commissioning of projects a major highlight of his exit season from his position as governor of the state. But just one point to be made here, which is that, look, the people of Rivers State, they've now had 2 public holidays in 1 week. Is there anybody who is going to calculate the cost of 2 public holidays in 1 week? First, May 1, the federal government public holiday, sanctioned or allowed by Section 4 of the Constitution. And then the second public holiday chosen by the government, okay, enabled by Section 12 of the Public Holidays Act. What is the cost? What is the meaning for the people of Rivers State? Number 2, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is president-elect. I think maybe he too should moderate his enthusiasm. There cannot be 2 presidents in Nigeria at a time. The president of Nigeria, as at this moment, is a man called Muhammadu Buhari. So, yes, the APC people, they may be very enthusiastic. They want to take over. And Asiwaju, he has already moved into defense headquarters, maybe, going around, because now that Wike has invited him, don't be surprised if Makinde invites him tomorrow. Don't be surprised if Samuel or Tom invites him tomorrow also to come and commission project. No, he should not do that. He should wait till he's properly inaugurated before he begins to act presidential, and then it will make sense. That's the second point. The third point has to do with the fact that, well, what, is a big thing out of this. If you look at the attendance, the APC in Port Harcourt boycotted the event. The Governor Wike had this big festival, hosting the the president-elect. Tonyeko will be on this program this morning. He will tell us how they are feeling in APC Rivers. So, what does that say to us? What it simply means is that Governor Wike is unrelenting in terms of his anti-party activities. Is the PDP so spineless, so weak, that the PDP cannot even take a decision about their members, their prominent members, identifying with other political parties? I know that Nyesom Wike had gone to court to stop the PDP from expelling him, but he's openly engaging in anti-party activities. So what is the problem with the People's Democratic Party? And then in any case, it's not an issue for President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He says Wike is a dependable ally. Yesterday, I was quoting transition notes on the pages of This Day, saying that, look, Wike is just reaping where he did not sow. But the president-elect said he provided structural support. And the nature of that structural support, as defined by Asiwaju Tinubu, is that, look, this man insisted that power must return to the South. And he supported that agenda by sabotaging his own political party. These are issues that are there on the table that will still have to be addressed by the affected stakeholders. Now to the issue of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu saying, I owe you nothing. Now, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been governor before, for 8 years. When he was governor of Lagos State, he also constructed federal roads. He didn't have an excellent relationship with President Obasanjo as president of Nigeria at the time. And it was in that context, I imagine, that he was saying, look, these roads are for your people. They will be used by your people, but you will have to lobby me. What we have seen over the years is that the federal government pays for projects embarked upon by state governments on a discretionary basis. I think the federal government under President Buhari at some point said, if you go and construct federal roads, nobody will pay you. But the same Buhari administration paid Kogi State, paid Osun State, forcing people to say, why is it so selective? The same Buhari government paid Borno State 16.7 billion for constructing federal roads. So Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, having been governor himself, knows the game. So that's how he was saying, look, I don't owe you anything, but you have to come and lobby me, leaving a window open. Because this whole thing about federal roads being constructed by state governments has become a scam. It's a scam. It's a way for state governors to steal money from the federal government. They will come and say variations. Because of variations, this is now the amount, I spend this much, and all of that. And for political reasons, you know, they get more than they spend. And you could see Bola Ahmed Tinubu just dancing away from it. Well, it's an old fox in the game, so he knows how the game is played. But that's no guarantee that it's not still going to help, the River State people. Finally, David Mai was at the event. I saw a report saying, Nyesom Wike has something to contribute, and President-elect Bola Tinubu should make use of his services. So the people of River State, they have had to sit down at home, second time in a week, because Wike is looking for an appointment. Because that's the subtext there, you know. But in any case, we'll see what the president-elect will do when he chooses his team. But what is important, in any case, is that Nigeria has to move forward, and the people of River State, must realize that, well, they are part of this equation, not on Wike's account, but because they are Nigerians.
Let me start this morning by saying it's a quote in local parlance. If Koniman die, now Koniman go bury him. This game that politicians think they can play, they should remember that somebody plays it better than them. In this case, the governor of Rivers State, we all know what transpired during the election. We all know the games that were played. We all know how he conducted anti-party activities, big time, big league, like Donald Trump would say. But yesterday at the gala, he said, no, it was a revolution. Really? So much a revolution that he had to get the court to stop the PDP from dealing with him? He should remember that if he didn't day, he didn't day. There are repercussions for actions. One of them was the first salvo thrown as regards the roads. I owe you nothing, is your road, go fix it, after giving public holiday. Somebody should tell the governor that, you see, the man he's trying to play this game with is older at the game than him. You know, city boys have an edge over the game than newcomers like him. Because give it to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he's been this since 1993, and he's edged on up till this time. And you will see a lot of drama play out in the coming days. But the big question we shall ask is, was all of this done in the interest of the Rivers people? You say, yes, the flyover is a big developmental stride for the Rivers people. But all of this politicking, was it done in the interest of the Rivers people or to save the face of one politician? But in the coming days, we'll see how the game will play out. In no time from now, May 29 will come. And obviously, some people will understand that they will not have the leash on the press like they used to have before. And the dynamics of the game will change. So how they will balance themselves out. It is good for them to get their own hype men to say, yes, use me for national assignments. But it is incumbent on the president-elect to make his decisions. If he makes his decision to fit Governor Wike, all well and good for him. But if he did not make his decision to fit Governor Wike, hope Governor Wike will not now start complaining of injustice again. Because it is this same Governor Wike that said after the PDP primaries that anybody that emerged will support them. But we saw what he did. He got his band of G5 revolutionaries, like he called yesterday, and we all saw where that led them. He even tried placating them that, even if 3 of us lost re-election, we are still strong. I'm not sure Mr. Ogwani and Mr. Otom and Mr. Ekpeazu that are on the receiving end of that loss will be very, very comfortable that they lost. But it's Nigeria's political drama. We'll see how it plays out in the coming days. But we should always remember, and politicians should remember, that if Connie man die, now Connie man go bury him. We'll move on to the next story this morning. Moving on to the next story, 376 Nigerians who fled the conflict in Sudan have arrived in Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. They were airlifted at the Aswan Airport in Egypt late on Wednesday aboard 2 aircrafts. Both have been grounded by the Egyptians, who had insisted that Nigerians managed to get into Egypt from Sudan must be evacuated. Well, the good news is that the evacuees finally boarded an Air Peace passenger plane and a Nigerian Air Force C-130 plane. They were received by officials led by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and the Chairman of Nigerian Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa.
Even more hectic for the students and the trauma that they've gone through. And also, we're arranging a trauma counseling session for them. Dangote will also be taking care of that. And it's been traumatic more for them than for us, but the anxiety is less now. We're glad that they're all back and nothing has happened to anybody. One student had some injury. He was taken to hospital. He's fine now. And war is a terrible thing.
You want to tell us a bit about what happened? We know that this they should have arrived around 5 p.m. today, but here we are, 12 midnight.
Because the Egyptian authorities had very stringent conditions, and they insisted that, for instance, if you are 300, if the plane can take 300 and you are 326, you are not going. They don't want you to leave that 26 until there's a plane to carry them. But with the cooperation between Air Peace and the Air Force plane, they were able to arrange the cargo somehow and were able to take everybody. I don't want to quote figures that I don't know, but as they come, you're going to get all the figures. You know, we started with 5,500, but I don't think they're up to that. But honestly, let them just come in. But everybody will be back. But when I keep saying that perhaps we have some of the largest diaspora in Sudan, people will say, but we do. I said 3 million, but even the others say 9 million. If you look at history, it used to be a transit route to Saudi Arabia. In those days, if you're going to Hajj, you could spend a day there. So a lot of people migrated and stayed there. And they kept growing, and they are doing businesses there. They are very successful businessmen in Sudan. And I'm telling you that some of the richest men are Nigerians. When somebody said, no, the richest man is Mo Ibrahim, that's not what I'm talking about. He doesn't live in Sudan. I'm talking about living in Sudan. Go and check. The richest men are Nigerians who have migrated there for years. You know, some even are more Sudanese than Nigerian. But that is just the truth. And in fact, for us in Diaspora Commission, that was our next area of concentration. Everybody keeps saying US, Europe, but there's so much on the African continent. And Sudan perhaps has one of the largest diaspora population of Nigerians anywhere in the world.
The Air Peace, I must also commend them. I must use this opportunity to appreciate the chairman and the CEO and management of Air Peace for the support, for offering to bring back our nationals back home.
Let's talk about Ira.
Well, thank God some of our children, some of the students, some of our people, citizens in Sudan are back. We are grateful because we must celebrate the wins before we begin to analyze and look at what could perhaps the lessons that we could learn from this particular incident. You could obviously tell that the chairman of NIDCOM had a few sleepless nights, looking a bit weary and taking it very personal in terms of ensuring that our people are back home. And so despite everything that's happened, it was great to see that personal receiving of the students. But there are some comments that she made that on closer investigation or closer look at it, it begs to worry. What I was hoping was that when we celebrate the return of this people, of our people from Sudan or from Egypt, where they had come in directly from, we wouldn't have to talk about the negatives, but unfortunately, it's so glaring that we cannot ignore it. So whilst we thank very much the Nigerian Air Force, NIDCOM, Humanitarian Ministry, NEMA, and of course Air Peace, all the agencies involved, let us take some things. From the very beginning, one of the big criticisms of this process had been management and operations. So having a plan for this kind of disaster management and evacuation of Nigerians from a war-torn nation. The fact that a number of things that ought not to have happened because there was lack of communication, lack of preparation, and what some people would refer to as the anyhowness sometimes of the government. So she mentioned that there was a delay in the students arriving, and the reason for that delay was that the Egyptian authorities, first of all, refused for any aircraft that had more than its capacity fly. And that makes absolute sense. The truth is that it is risk. It's a huge risk. For safety, it is risky, and in any part of the world, it's not done. In a way, he said, "I'll just allow it. We'll just manage it." Yes, it's a crisis situation. It's an emergency situation, but due process and protocol must be followed. Why wasn't this ascertained before the people were at the airport, or the number of people and the seats ascertained before embarking on this journey? The second part, and I had to end here, is the fact that they said that the people who couldn't go on the aircraft could not stay back in Egypt. So they had to wait to ensure that they had to airlift them. It also talks about, and Mr. Allen Onyema talked about this, and it's very sad, that Nigerians have to pay Nigerian tax in terms of being suspiciously looked at. He talks about even jails across different countries have Nigerians who have done nothing or who are innocent just because of perception. There's a lot of work in that area that we need to do, and a lot of diplomatic relationships that we have to review and evaluate post this particular incident. But I'll end again by saying, thank God, these citizens are back home.
Okay, we've spoken about this plenty. Our job is to waste plenty of saliva on these issues. I've even written a full-page newspaper article on this particular subject. But what we see now is joy and relief that Nigerians have been able to return home after 3 weeks of crisis. 3 weeks, more or less, after 12 other countries managed to bring their people, take their people out of that war situation in Sudan. There are certainly lessons to be learned from the entire experience. Air Peace arrived 11:30 yesterday. Nigerian Air Force Hercules C-130 arrived at 12 midnight. In total, Nigeria managed to bring back 376 persons. We have been told that today, Thursday, that more persons will arrive. We've been told also that there are 5,500 persons out there. In fact, the actual figure probably runs into millions. What Nigerians expect is that every Nigerian stranded in Sudan will be brought home. So there's still a lot of work to be done. So it's not jubilation time yet, but some joy and relief that some people have been brought back. But there are issues to address. One, the role of the Egyptian authorities. The Speaker of the House of Reps, engaging federal government authorities, addressed this issue, that Nigeria needs to probe how Egypt treated Nigeria. I think that is very important. Two, I had Sadiya Umar Farouk, the minister in charge of humanitarian affairs, praising Allen Onyema. And yes, Allen Onyema and his company, Air Peace, deserve praise because they were there. They too were stranded for some time. The airline went through a lot of difficulties at great cost to the company. And the company has helped to bring back, Nigerians. Now, today again, we don't know what will happen, but we'll see. But should a citizen that is not appreciated by his own country continue to invest in that country and continue to make money, to make sacrifice for that country? And I make that point because yesterday there was another story as the Minister of Disaster and Humanitarian Affairs was praising Allen Onyema and Air Peace, that NLC and Trade Union Congress were giving the Air Peace airline difficulties at the Murtala Mohammed Airport here and also in Owerri for issues that had no connection with Air Peace. On the same day that the same company was making a big sacrifice for Nigeria. They were disrupting the flights, the operations of the airline. Why? Because organized labor says we have issues with the governor of Imo State. The governor of Imo State was dictating to labor on May 1, and so, Air Peace should not go to Owerri. Other airlines were allowed to go. So, I mean, why are we like this in this country? Why are we like this? You look at a company that is trying to make a contribution, that is trying to support the country. On the same day, the same country will embarrass the same country. Look, no, please, can we get serious in this place? That's the big problem that we have here. But in any case, if I were Allen Onyema, I will not. I will change my mind. Why should we be helping people that have no sense? In any case, it's okay. It's between Air Peace and organized labor and Imo State, that Air Peace even has no issues with. But this is the kind of politics that we play in this country. Finally, 376 persons have been brought back. We're told that the Dangote Foundation is giving them 100,000 naira each. That's commendable. We also commend the Dangote Foundation for that, patriotism. We also commend the MTN Foundation that is giving out recharge cards of 25,000 naira each to the returnees. That's also very commendable. When a country is in crisis, it's good to have this kind of public-private sector partnership. But nobody should ethnicize this. Nobody should try to make politics out of this. But the truth, as Rufai always says, has to be told. Rufai, tell more truths.
Dr. Abati, you see, you are the truth teller. And when you tell the truth, people think you don't like them. The man has helped this country to save us from logistical incompetence and shame that our government officials put us through. Administrative incompetence, shame. See the shame we went to face in Sudan. At first, drivers had to stop our people in the bus because there were discrepancies. And finally, they are back home today. And it's all the same day that the labor union are disrupting flights of Allen Onyema that is using his own money to evacuate people from Sudan. And when we say that our shame is writ large as a country because of some specific people, some people will argue and say, don't say that, you don't love Nigeria. I love Nigeria, but I don't love rubbish. I don't love idiocy. I don't love bad attitude. I don't love what is not befitting. And please, as Ayo has stated, we have to be able to draw out guidelines on accountability. They must release how much they spend. And in fact, I want every media house, once the evacuation is complete, to write in accordance with the FOI to NEMA and every parastatal to first give us a breakdown of how much was spent in all of this exercise. To the least amount spent on a bottle of water, they must account. And secondly, people found wanting as regards logistical incompetence must be dealt with. Then thirdly, we must try as much as possible to develop a guideline for how we'll do various further evacuations. That's how we build a nation. It is accountability that builds a nation, not lies. We thank those that have stepped up, and more Nigerians that will still step up. But apart from that, please, the parents of these people that have been returned and those that will still be returned, they need trauma counseling too. These people also need trauma counseling. We appreciate the 100,000 naira gesture from Dangote Foundation, MTN Foundation, but also let's also make, way and provision for trauma counseling so these people can get back on their feet and reintegrate them back into society and stop this ethnic bigotry of tribe and race preference in this country. Because we say Egypt does not respect us, but do we respect ourselves as a nation? I rest my case.